It's finally here. After a super long off season, VCT is finally returning this week, and I could not be more happy about it. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that I love a lot of Valorant. I play a lot of Valorant, and I like watching VCT. I almost mentioned it on every video. Earlier this year, I made a channel update saying that I want to incorporate more Valorant into my channel. So here we are. We're going to be covering VCT. I'm going to give you my opinions on what I think is going to happen, everything that's going on when it comes to Riot's updates. Now, just as a disclaimer, I am an average fan. I'm not super analytical, and I'm also not the best Valorant player, but I do feel like my game knowledge enough that I could really think about what's going to happen when it comes to VCT, specifically VCT Americas, because timing, work life, all that things, that's what I could best focus on. Hopefully soon enough, I'll be able to branch out into all regions right before Masters. But enough chit chat. My name is Kid Covert. You're the viewer. You already knew that, so let's get right into it. Now, let's start with something I want to touch on. Riot has been updating Valorant very frequently right before VCT, and I know a lot of pros are upset about it. As someone that really does enjoy watching esports, I'm not sure why all of these changes are really being implemented right before VCT. I mean, I guess it's better to have it done before VCT. For example, we have a chamber buff coming this week, and VCT Americas and all the regions starting about Thursday. Like, this is a little crazy, a little quick. For a pro player, you're spending a lot of time practicing, getting used to these characters, creating strats, and with these buffs and nerfs, it obviously changes the game a good amount. So I can't imagine what's going on through the pro's head, the org's thought process. I feel like it's a little more interesting to see how well everybody adapts. It adds that extra level. But I know that's been a topic of discussion. Personally, me looking at it, I fully understand why the pros are upset about it. Like, why? I don't understand. Like, Valorant's very esports, revolve around esports, competitiveness, and to kind of do that, it's just kind of funny to me. Nevertheless, I digress. Next thing I want to talk about is, full disclaimer, I am a Sentinels fan. I believe in the hype. I'm a TENS fan, whatever you want to say. I want to touch on the Zelsis Pancada like controversy. Now, I know the Valorant community, and I'm going to say some things without saying too much because I know they're going to tear my ass apart. As much as I like Pancada as a player, as much as I think he's skilled, I even think he's more mechanically inclined than Zelsis, but I do believe that Zelsis has a way better fit with Sentinels, and that's nothing against Pancada. Just personally speaking, playing on sports teams, just playing video games and playing with your friends, once you have that synergy, once you mesh well, it makes everything 10 times better. And I'm not insinuating that they did not get along with Pancada. Oh, whatever the case may be, I don't want to get anything misconstrued, even though I'm sure that you guys know that I'm not trying to say that. I'm just going to reiterate it. But Zelsis does mesh well with Sentinels a lot more. John QT has been a super dynamic, super important part of the Sentinels rebuild. Having an IGL that frags the way he does is honestly great. The way he played in Africa TV tournament was unbelievable. The entire squad did completely amazing. The synergy was there. And I hope they could bring that to VCT Americas because I would love to see Sentinels make a run. I got into Valorant right after Sentinels won Masters Reykjavik, so I want to live that hype. Now, with teams like NRG and Leviathan being really well put together, this season is going to be hard for Sentinels yet again. Loud is also very formidable, but that brings me to the next topic. We're going to do a pick'ems on, and again, this is all in good fun. I'm not super analytical. I'm not looking at every player stat. This is just what I think based on watching last year, knowing the players that I know from last year, as well as the offseason, to see how this is going, the new roster updates, all these things and more. If I get it right, I get it right. If I don't, well, at least I had fun doing it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this as much as I do. So let's switch right over to the bracket. Alright guys, so we are here on the Valorant.gg Pick'ems website, and just to start things off, we're going to go through the groups really fast. So Group A, we got Energy, Furia, Cloud9, and MIBR. Group B, or also known as the Group of Death, we got Loud, Sentinels, Leviathan, and 100 Thieves. Group C, we got Crew, G2, which was the Ascension winners. Technically it was the Guard, but they're bought over by G2, but it's the Guard players. That's a little bit much. And we have EG, last year's Champions winners, so they get a bye in Group C for being the #1 seed. Now, this is a bit controversial considering the fact that 4 out of their 5 players are no longer with the team, but nevertheless, this is how Riot wants it, so this is how we're going to have to deal with it. NRG, on paper, is probably the best team in VCT Americas. They got Demon 1, probably the most breakout player of last year, the best player in the world. Put some respect on his fucking name. You know all of that. If you were watching this video, you know all of that. We got Ethan, who's also part of EG, and now he's running the IGL role for NRG. We got Marved, who was the IGL at the very end, maybe the last 2 games for Sentinels. He came in halfway through the season, replacing Tens, and honestly became a critical part of Sentinels, being a bit better, taking over the IGL role. Marved was really good with his lurks. Playing Viper was honestly one of the best things that I've seen in a while. It was very hype. It gave the Sentinels fans real hopium. So I'm excited to see what he can do in a full season. We got Crashies and Victor. They've already been there, the Optic Core. Reunited alongside with Marv. That's going to be interesting. Furia, now, not much has changed in Furia to my knowledge, but DG Zine is no longer with Furia. Arguably the best player for Furia last year. Furia did pretty good. They just squeaked by to make it to playoffs, just beating Sentinels because of round differential. But they had a pretty good season. Let's see what they could do this year. I feel like it's a kind of harder with the fact of the matter being Energy, Loud, Sentinels, and Leviathan being super strong teams this year. Only 2 can make it, but we'll see how that goes. Loud kind of ran through everybody last season. So did C9, but we'll get to them right now, actually. C9, Zelsis is now part of Sentinels. We already talked about this just a little bit. Leaf is no longer part of C9. Leaf was a major part of their team last year. I feel like he was very integral to their success and being the top team in VCT Americas. But I feel like they still have a strong team. Jake and Zeppa, they're really good together. They're really talented players. And I feel like they could make a run for it. Honestly, if there's a 5th best team, maybe tied for 4th even, C9 can be that team. And MIBR. Now, MIBR had a very weak season last year. They made a few roster changes. So this is a chance to prove themselves. They did a lot better at the end of the season and LCQ. Not as good as Crew did. I digress. I feel like it's going to be an interesting season for MIBR. I feel like they have potential. So now with the picks. Okay, so I'm obviously going to take Energy over Furia, as I believe that they are the best team on paper in VCT Americas. Again, I'm a Sentinels fan, so that's kind of weird to say. Let's keep it going. Now, C9 versus MIBR. I don't know much about MIBR's roster. I'm not, off the top of my head, I can't really think too much of who's really going to stand out, but C9 does have Jake and Zeppa, and that duo is pretty deadly, so I'm going to give C9 the edge over them. Now, for the elimination round, I think Furia still has a upper hand over MIBR. This is going based off of last year. I have not seen any offseason from MIBR. Haven't seen much of Furia either, but again, going based off of last year, Furia is going to have an upper hand. Even without DG Zine, I feel like Furia does have a well-rounded team to at least make a run for it and be a surprise contender as well. Now, Energy versus C9. Easily, Energy's making it through, and I will say C9 will beat Furia. C9 does have a strong team, even though in the Ludwig Tarek Invitational, they really got spanked, to say the least. At the end of Group A, Energy and C9 will definitely qualify for a playoff. Now, this is the more interesting one. I feel, no offense to the other teams. I don't mean disrespect to any teams at all. But with Group B having 3 out of the 4 best teams in it, it's definitely the group of death. It's going to be super interesting of how these teams really battle each other. It's going to feel like playoffs already happen at the start of kickoff. So let's get right into it. Now, I feel like Sentinels are riding that high when it comes to the Africa TV tournament. But at the same time, there is still a bit of controversy with the Zelsis Pancada issues going on. Loud has also lost Aspas, who's a part of Leviathan. And Aspas was arguably the best player on Loud. Now, they still have Sadhak, who's unbelievable. One of the best players in the game. You cannot deny that. But I do feel with the addition of Zelsis and the addition of John QT, this Sentinels team is probably going to be unmatched. With the whole of IGL last year and the amount of roster changes that they made last year, Sentinels, with this core that they have and their synergy and the fact that they won that last tournament, I feel like they are gonna really come together and beat one of the best teams in the world. So I'm gonna take Sentinels on this one. Definitely gonna take Sentinels on this one. Now, Leviathan, now on paper, Leviathan and Sentinels is a sauce-up for number 2. Again, on paper, Energy is probably number 1 in my opinion. Leviathan has a very strong core. Now, they did have their own controversy with letting go of Nazwer, who was part of the team. There's a lot of rumors saying that there was some turmoil. Some players didn't want him on the team, but then after he was let go, a lot of players were saying that they did actually want him on the team. It wasn't a decision made by the players, and obviously I full well believe the players when it comes to that. Sometimes things don't work out in an organization. It happens in normal sports, no matter what it is. A team is a team. A team kind of has to be a family. No matter what it is, it's gonna suck. It's gonna hurt the morale to lose a player that you guys were, working with, meshing with, with. But they did bring in Calm clutch. I know when EG was splitting up, everybody was saying Calm and Jogamo, they didn't really have that much of their impact on the team, but I feel like they did. Calm really clutched like so many rounds for EG. I feel like he was being overlooked. Jogamo on Raze was also deadly. Aspas, one of the best fraggers in the game. With that being said, Sentinels and Leviathan, maybe Leviathan has this edge over them. Again, on paper, we'll see how it works out with Calm being added pretty late, but in terms of Leviathan versus 100 Thieves, Leviathan is definitely taking that one. Now, elimination. 100 Thieves have a good team. They added EU. I guess that's how you say his name. And Lucio is now their IGL. Lucio was the IGL for EG, the reigning world champions. And, you know, pretty much what he brought to the table cannot be overlooked. Everybody was definitely focused on Demon 1 and his breakout aim. One of the best aimers in the game. You could give credit to Potter as well. Nobody could take away that either. But I feel like Loud is just too strong of a team. So I'm going to say that Loud is going to take that. Now, this is going to be one of the hardest games to call. Sentinels versus Leviathan. Oh man, my heart of hearts, which doesn't exist. I do feel like Sentinels will take it, but Aspas scares the hell out of me, to say the least. Leviathan was already a pretty decent team last year. I think they finished around 4th last year. Leviathan was a pretty decent team. Adding Aspas was pretty good. I'm not sure about this one, but I will say I can take Sentinels over Lev, only because I feel like their synergy is going to work super well against Leviathan. I feel like that's the edge that they have over. You know, they have Tens, they have Zekin, they have John QT, they have Saucy, they have Zelsis. You know, all these guys can frag, no problem. I do feel like last year what hurt them the most, the way they worked together, and this year, that issue looks completely mitigated. So I feel like Sentinels can't take it over Leviathan, but it all really depends on how well they work together. But I can definitely say I do think Leviathan does take it over Loud. I feel like they're just a bit stronger than Loud. In all honesty, Loud can surprise all of us and run through that. I could definitely put my money on the fact that Loud will not lose to Sentinels twice, though. So this game right here is absolutely pivotal for Sentinels, because if Sentinels does not win against Leviathan, then they are not winning against Loud. Loud does not make the same mistake twice, but I will take Leviathan over Loud. Now, Crew versus G2. So Crew went completely fully defeated in regionals last year. Now, that sucks to say, but their LCQ run was amazing. That was probably the best. They're LCQ god. They're always making a run in LCQ. If they could bring that, I haven't seen any off seasons from that. I haven't really heard anything when it came to Crew esports. So they could. This one's kind of hard too. G2 being the guard that came up from Ascension. I'm not sure exactly about this one. Honestly, I am at a standstill here just because of their LCQ run. I definitely want to give it to Crew. EG versus Crew. EG still has Jogamo. Now I heard Nature is on EG and Nature was super cracked. A lot of EG has changed, but I will put my faith in Potter. And I'm definitely taking Crew over G2 one more time. So ultimately, this is what we're looking at. Energy, Cloud9, Sentinels, Leviathan, EG, and Crew all making it through. Now, I'm hoping ultimately that this is what we're looking at, because I would love to see the playoffs with Energy, Sentinels, and Leviathan. Let me know what you guys think. Again, I'm not super analytical. I go based on what I saw last year, what I'm hearing in terms of the offseason and the roster moves. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen come Friday. If you guys are too, let me know in the comments. If you guys are enjoying these videos, VCT videos, Valorant videos, also like, share, and subscribe. I would love to do a lot more of them, and I'll see you guys in the next one.